Happy Monday, everybody. It's time for another edition of Ask Mike. Courtney Mims alongside Mike Irwin here. And Mike, I'm back, and we have a lot of questions, a lot of things going on in the talking season. So let's talk about it. Our first question is from Mousetown, who wants to know what is going on with in-state football recruiting. Pitt and his staff are doing a good job outside of the state. Some are saying the constant complaining from fans like me is sending our best talent out of state. Is it really my fault?
Well, it's not Mousetown alone, and no, that's overblown a little bit. I'm not going to say that a lot of the negative talk on the internet hasn't had an effect, because I think it does, and we talked about it last week. It's mainly you win 4 games, you have a 4-win season. That's going to affect in-state recruiting, because in-state players see that more than out-of-state players do. It's on TV all the time. They know what happened, and then people start talking about it. Now, one thing that did happen, and this is so interesting the way this works. I remember, I think it was late December, early January, the first time I looked on Twitter, and a fan said, this was one fan on Twitter who said that Pittman would be gone by Halloween and that Petrino would take over. And then everybody started that, gone by Halloween. I'm talking about other fans. But then maybe a month or two later, I saw somebody in the media pick it up. And that now you see it a lot. They don't necessarily use the Halloween comment, but when Lindy's Sports Magazine, and then others have done it since, went into this anonymous SEC coach who was talking about Pittman and said he would be gone before the season was over. That is an anonymous SEC coach supposedly picking up on this stuff and doing it. And whether he believes that or not, he's doing this for recruiting purposes. It helps his recruiting in Arkansas if he can get on and say something like negative like that and get somebody to pick it up. And like I said last week, I also think if you run an internet website, you're legitimate media, but it's internet based, you got to get clicks. That's how you stay in business. So if you know, for instance, that people are a lot more receptive on the internet to talking trash about Arkansas, I'm talking about Arkansas's own fans, then if you go along with that, if you see Arkansas lose a recruit, a high-ranked in-state recruit, and then you write a headline and talk about how, oh, this is awful, this is terrible. For instance, what we started seeing, I think last week, was a comment that this is the first time since 2007 that Arkansas has lost the top 3 recruits in state. Okay, I talked to Otis about this because Otis knows more about recruiting than anybody. Arkansas football recruiting, has been doing it since the 80s. I trust him. He said, first of all, that's an incorrect statement. It's how you rank these people. And he said, I'm telling you right now, based on what they want, what coaches look at, it's not, they didn't lose the top 3. They've lost, at least gotten they've got other schools out of state have gotten commitment from the top 2. He disputes the 3rd one. But let's go ahead and accept that right now, this premise that it's the first time since 2007 that Arkansas lost the top 3 in-state guys. Well, let's go back and look at 2007, because I did. When that class, when those guys were juniors, when those guys were sophomores, juniors, and seniors, Arkansas won 29 games in 3 years, right at 10 wins a season. That's one of the best 3-year stretches of wins in the history of the school. And who was the coach? Bobby Petrino. And he's the coach now. So sometimes bad recruiting classes don't look so bad a year or two later. So you have to consider that too. But there are other factors, and NIL is a big factor, which has nothing to do with the fans and being negative. And we'll get a question about that, and I'll get into that too. But no, it's not just the fans. That plays a part in it. But I do believe that this is overblown. We'll only know a year or two from now when we find out what this recruiting class does, because that's the other point I would make. What does this recruiting class have to do with this season? Zero. If I'm sitting here, if I'm a fan and I'm concerned about Arkansas football, I'm not concerned about the 2025 recruiting class. I'm concerned about the 2024 team. We're about, 10 weeks? How far is it away from the season starting? That's what you ought to be concerned about. And there's a portal class that factors in there, which is much more important right now than that recruiting class.
And you said that on our PTN Extra show this week, and people were like, wait, I just heard that Mike say in-state recruiting and recruiting these guys doesn't matter. No, it does. You're saying it does matter, but not for the current season that we are talking about right now. And you care right now, if you're an Arkansas football fan, right? What do you care about this season and winning games? At least that's what most of them will say.
And what I will say is that when we're talking about the talking season, which is what people are doing right now on the internet, you know what matters to them? Anything that's negative. You can't be negative about the season because it hasn't happened yet. You can sit around and say we're going to get killed, but that hasn't started. But the recruiting is going on now, so you talk about that, even though that's not going to have an impact for at least 2 years.
I think it's just negativity is what the fan base is liking right now. You'll notice that more negative things tweeted about the football team. That's what people are consuming right now. When we post anything positive, I'll tell you this, guys, you can fact check me here. When we post anything positive about the football team, all the comments are negative. And I'm not saying that that's all of the fan base, but that's what people...
That's what's on the internet.
That's what's on the internet right now. Do I think that recruits read that? Absolutely they do. They're not stupid, guys. They read that stuff. They know what's being said about the program. Is it affecting their decision? The number one thing? No.
It's not.
Absolutely not. That's a ridiculous notion. I don't even know who came up with that, which person on the internet said that was the main thing that they were deciding on. Every fan base, and you've said this, every fan base has crazies. Every single one of them. Trust us on that. They do.
That's right.
So this is not the only reason. Mousetown, you are not the reason that you are losing any in-state recruits. It's so much more than that. And you mentioned some of them. We're going to dive deeper into that here. H.L. McCamish says, okay, we lost a really good athlete out of Little Rock. Apparently, he likes OU better. But Pittman went into Georgia and took one of that state's top players away from Georgia. It works both ways.
Well, it does. And we get into now, if there's a way to look at this class and say, oh, it's coming apart because there aren't getting in-state guys, enough in-state guys. I went back and looked. It took me a while to do that. How many in-state players, Arkansas players, do you think Arkansas has on its roster right now?
I don't know. I mean,
39.
Okay, there you go.
So I thought, well, let's compare that to another school, Alabama, because they're winning. I went and looked at their roster. Guess how many players from Alabama has on its roster?
You're going to say 39.
So it's not that there's anything weird going on. What's always been the case, and I want to tell this story very quickly because I think it was 76 recruiting, 76 class. I know it was when I was first here. And Arkansas lost some big in-state guy. And I was around Frank when that got out or whatever. He was talking about it to somebody or something like that. And I said, well, you lost this kid. What are you going to do? And he goes, I'm going to go to Texas and get somebody better. I mean, that's what they did in those days. If you lost an in-state guy, you went in his day, you went to Texas and found somebody better. And that's still the case. What I'm told that Sam Pittman, the attitude that they have right now is this. Yes, we want in-state guys, and we want the good ones. But what was more important to us right now? It was the portal was important because the portal affects 2024. If we don't have a good 2024 season, we ain't going to be here. So that's what he's been doing since last December. That thing is in the books. You can go look at it. You can say it's good. You can say it's. I've said I went up there last spring and watched what they did to correct the problems from last year. There's no way you can know for sure until they play other teams, but I like what they did. Common sense dictates that you've replaced Dan Enos with Bobby Petrino, and you're going to tell me that doesn't make a difference? You're going to tell me that bringing in 4 upperclassmen, 4-star caliber offensive linemen to replace the guys they had last year is not going to make the offensive line better? You're not going to tell me that Pittman now working full-time with Eric Mateos, so we've basically got 2 really good offensive line coaches instead of 1, that's not going to affect the offensive line? It will. There's just, you've got a new quarterback that they brought in, you got a top quality running back that you brought in, you brought in a linebacker from Georgia, You went to these places and got the people you need to be better this year. And I think they will be better. And if they're not, then they'll all be gone. But that is what their priority was. So they spent a lot of NIL money doing that. Now, here's what I'm telling you is going on now. Pittman is not going to get into a bidding war over an in-state guy when he's got NIL money, and I'm told that these top 3 guys that committed to other schools, one of them, I think 2 of them may be Oklahoma, one of them LSU. Those guys, they offer them decent amount of money, but in order to get them, they were going to have to get into a bidding war, and they didn't. If you do that, then what do you do elsewhere? And they still want to recruit out-of-state kids. Now, what's the number of out-of-state kids on this roster? It's 60-something, double what it is for in-state. You know how long that's been going on? Forever. Because you don't have enough quality in-state guys to fill. If you tried to do that, there was a guy that responded to it this way, and I just thought, what are you? He said, if we're going to be last, I'd rather be last with Arkansas players. That's how you stay last.
Yeah.
That's how you stay last if you have that attitude. So yes, you're going to go out and try to make up for what you don't have with out-of-state players.
Absolutely.
Okay, so where are they getting these players?
From the hotbeds, Georgia,
well,
Texas,
most of them, honestly, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Arkansas still gets most of its out-of-state guys from Texas, just like they did when Frank was here. That's the most. It's 29, something like that, from Texas. Then you get into Georgia, Alabama, Florida, schools like that. This is where the Travis Williams effect comes in. Not only Travis, but the coaches he brought in on the defensive side, because that's their recruiting territory. And that's why you're getting recruits from those places.
Absolutely.
So when you went in and got one of the best linebackers out of the state of Georgia, a guy Georgia wanted, okay, you think Georgia wanted him to go to Arkansas? No. But did they freak out when they lost? No. Because I'm sure their attitude is, okay, we lost this guy, we'll go somewhere else and get somebody as good or better. That's the way this thing works. So Arkansas is always going to have a lot of out-of-state guys. Now, does this somehow mean that these guys aren't important? I was on the radio with Matt Jones, former Razorback quarterback, and we were talking about this morning. You know what he told me? He said he got that very question earlier before I came on, and he said, the example I gave to them, Anthony Lucas. Anthony Lucas was a wide receiver from Louisiana. He came here, he became a Razorback, he embraced being a Razorback, and he's still here as a high school coach in this state. Do you think anybody looks at Anthony Lucas and goes, oh, he's from Louisiana, we don't want him? Of course not. Razorback fans will embrace people from anywhere if they come in and help you win. I would like somebody to look at the current Razorback basketball roster and show me who from Arkansas is on that roster. There was one, he was a walk-on and he got hurt. So there's nobody. There'll be nobody at practice from Arkansas unless they add one. They've still got one.
But I don't see people going up in arms over that.
No.
I don't see people going
All
up in
that
arms
matters
over that.
is if you win. And
Exactly.
and then they'll be just as happy with these guys. They'll remember them. If you lose, then they'll get mad.
Yeah.
Just like they would if you lost with an in-state guy.
I've said that point because there's some people that make the point too. It goes beyond in-state recruiting, right? Well, where are the Arkansas coaches on Arkansas? Where is the coaches from Arkansas on the staff? And I'm going, why does that matter? Truly, and truly, I know people have different opinions on this, but if you're winning, if you're a coach that wins, why does it matter where you're from?
He went out and recruited guys that could recruit outside the state, Sam Pittman, with the idea we'll be able to get certain in-state guys. I think his attitude right now is there's always going to be some kids that want to come here. And they've got 3 guys right now that are committed. 2 of them are wide receivers, which they need next year, and they're good, and one of them's a quarterback. Okay, that's 3. It'll probably go up to 5 or 6 before this thing is over. But Pittman's attitude is, we want those in-state guys that want to come here, ones that we don't have to spend a gajillion dollars in NIL money to get because we're going to use that NIL money out of state. I don't think it's a bad philosophy. I think it's a winning philosophy. but you got to make it happen. And again, I don't think what we saw last year wasn't so much a lack of talent. It was a mistake that he made, hiring the wrong offensive coordinator, which then caused a whole lot of problems as the season went on. That guy's gone. So we'll see if things get better. But again, even if he's not here and somebody else comes in here, do you think it's going to be an in-state guy? Of course not.
No, that's why I'm like, Nick Saban isn't from Alabama. You think Alabama fans are like, we need someone with Alabama blood. No, because they like winners, and that's what matters at the end of the day. And you can bring in somebody, because I feel this way. I moved to Arkansas from out of state, and I love it here.
Yeah.
I love it here. I love being here. I'd like to stay here. And so do you think that people are going to, oh, no, she's not, she shouldn't be here. She shouldn't be talking about Arkansas. I'm sure there are some people that feel that way. My other point to this was Arkansas high school football. You made a great point. The question should be, how do we make it better? How do we, because I think the talent is there, and there are parents and coaches out there that know it's there. How do you get those guys noticed and not overlooked, right, by these coaches from Power 4 programs? I think that's the question we should be looking at, because I look at that class of 2025, right, and I look at the top 100 players, right, just ranked. Where's the Arkansas kids? That's a problem. That is a problem to me. So that you're gonna force coaches to look at Texas, Florida, and Georgia over Arkansas. How do you get those kids noticed and looked at? I'll tell you this: a parent reached out to me, Matt Mosley on Twitter. He said there isn't any rivals camps in the state of Arkansas. We had to go out of state to take my kid to a rivals camp.
Right.
That's not good. That should be the question. If you're mad over not recruiting Arkansas, how do you make this state more of a hotbed for high school football talent? That's the question I want to know. Mike, maybe we'll answer that next week. Hog in Texas asked, with Texas and Oklahoma now in the SEC, do you see those schools coming in and taking some of the top players in Arkansas?
When it comes to Texas, I think if Arkansas had a rare 5-star or maybe a high 4-star, you might see Texas come in here. You might see Sark come in here and try to recruit. I don't think they'll avoid it. But I think generally they will look at Arkansas and go, they don't have anything we want. OU's a different story. They're right next door. And there's already some evidence that this is going to start to happen. So that is something to be concerned about. I think they're going to have some battles with Oklahoma coming down in the future. It's already started. So what do you do about that? Well, somebody that I talked to that I trust with regard to recruiting, he does believe that Pittman at some point needs to get a former Razorback on the staff. Somebody that's well known in the high school circles. It maybe doesn't have to be a former Razorback, but somebody knows this state and has good relationships with the high school coaches. But I think that whole staff just needs to work harder to have a better relationship with these high school coaches in this state. So certainly as long as NIL exists, you're going to have a problem, I think, with Oklahoma. Whether it would be long-term, I don't know. But Oklahoma, look what they have to do. They're in a similar position to Arkansas. You think OU fills its roster with kids from Oklahoma? They mostly look in Texas, but now they're going to, hey, we're in the SEC now with Arkansas. We'll look at them too. They may go into Missouri and start looking at some of the Missouri kids.
So you're kind of saying like a Ronnie Brewer type for football, like having someone on staff that is
except that it's a little more problematic in football. Brewer can recruit, I believe, but I don't believe that unless you were, in order for Pittman to get somebody, let's say he just went and said DMAC. I'm going to bring DMAC.
Yeah.
Well, DMAC has never been a position coach. What's he going to do, coach running backs? He's never done that before. So you're not going to bring him in here to coach a position that he's never coached before. And I don't think you can bring him in here just to recruit. You could have him around as an analyst to help when you brought recruits on campus. Yeah. But he couldn't go out and recruit, I don't believe. So I'm not sure. It sounds a lot easier than it is. That's what I'm saying is it's one thing to say we need an Arkansas guy on this staff. If I'm Sam Pittman and I'm filling staff positions, I want somebody that can recruit everywhere, not just one place. And I want somebody that can coach. It won't do you any good if you have a recruiter and then he's a tight ends coach or whatever and he can't coach tight ends. That would be terrible.
Yeah.
So you got to do both.
Yeah, that seems easier said than done. Like you said, WV Hog Fan asked, since Jaquindon Jackson is a former quarterback, do you think we'll see a return of the Hog Wild or Wildcat formation? If so, it would be great if he has the success that Darren McFadden had.
As I recall, he was asked about that when he first got here.
Yeah, I think so.
He said, yeah, I'd like to do that. That'd be cool. We saw no evidence of it in the spring. So if they're going to do it, they'll do it behind closed doors when we don't see it. And I wouldn't expect them to. If they're going to do something like that, I wouldn't expect them to show it happening. But I tend to doubt that. What seems to be going on with him in terms of making him go beyond his role as a running back would be as a receiver.
Yeah.
Because that's what Petrino does. He likes lots of receivers. He likes to flood different zones with receiving routes where people are crossing over and doing all this stuff, or have everybody over in one area and have one guy over here where nobody is. That's what he likes to do. So if you got a running back with good hands like he has, I would expect to see him more as a receiver than running the Wildcat.
Yeah, he's quick too. I mean, that would be another thing to keep an eye out for. Eddie Lynn says, you've always had a thing about number 22. I remember in junior high when you wore that number, even though you weren't a running back or a defensive back. Jaquindon Jackson is number 22. Is that why you're so high on him, Mike?
Okay, Eddie Lynn, I've known since the 4th grade. He was the first Razorback fan I ever knew. He's been a Hog fan forever.
He always asks questions,
I
too.
know, he loves the Razorbacks. But he was there's a picture of me, us both, in this junior high wearing these weird green jerseys. I don't know why we had green. We were black and gold was the school colors. Somebody claimed
they weren't like practice jerseys or anything?
No, they were game jerseys.
Weird.
And somebody said that school probably got a good deal on them and got them from another school and didn't care. I don't know. But I was able to talk, and I don't think I had to do much talking. I don't think they much cared in junior high, but I did end up with number 22, even though I was not a running back or a defensive back. So I was real happy to have that number 2. Now, why do I like 22? Well, because I've told this story before. The first big hero I had was Eddie Thompson, who was a high school player when I was in the 4th grade, won a game against our arch rival by scoring a touchdown with 43 seconds left, and he got hit helmet to helmet at the goal line and got knocked out. And he was laying there while everybody was celebrating. Then they realized he was knocked out, and the doctor came out and popped in a ammonia capsule under his nose, and he got up and walked off. So to me, he was the definition of a hero. He was 22. So I like that number. Not long after that, Bob Hayes came along. I was a big Bullet Bob Hayes fan for the Cowboys. He was in the Olympics. He was fast. I like fast guys, so there was Bob Hayes. But there have also been some number 22 Razorbacks. Tony Bua, one of my favorites, defensive. He was 22. Peyton Hillis, he was 22. Right. So yeah, I like the number 22. And because Jaquindon is a 22, I think he's going to have a great year.
Ooh.
I just have it. I feel it.
Oh, I like the prediction.
It's the number 22.
You're like, this is it.
It's magic.
It is a magical number for you, Mike. I like that. We'll have to watch out for him this fall. Lenny asks, with SEC Media Days coming up, what kind of reception do you think Pittman will get from conference media? He's always been pretty popular at this thing, but will that change with him on the hot seat?
It's a really good question, and I don't know because he has not been in that position before. He wasn't in the hot seat last year. He wasn't. This has just come suddenly based on one four-win season. My guess is he's always been, some people say he's too honest. He answers questions he shouldn't answer. He's not good at I don't know what you call that when you take an answer and it's total baloney.
You spin it?
Politicians do it all the time.
Yeah, you like spin zone it? Yeah.
I don't think he's very good at that. So my guess is when he gets asked about being on the hot seat, he'll just answer honestly what he feels. And the media always likes it when a guy just gives them a straight up answer. So I think he'll still be pretty popular with the media. Not that that matters. But he is a guy, as I've said before, that when you put him in a public situation like that, and I have had a chance to observe him at Media Days in Birmingham, everywhere he goes, people like him. He's just walking down hallways.
Yeah.
He's talking to people, and they're like, oh yeah.
There's a lot of national media that love him too, even though they'll say that when they talk about him. They're like,
He's
we know
the
he's on
kind
the
of guy
hot seat,
that would just stop and talk to somebody about anything, and then they think. I mean, Mike Leach was like that. He would just start talking to people, and they'd be like, "Whoa, okay, that was Mike Leach." So I think he'll be fine. What he's going to say, I don't know, but I think he'll be pretty honest about how he feels about it.
I like who they're bringing as well with him too, because it's not just Coach Pittman. They get to bring along three
Right.
players, and I like they announced that this afternoon. In case you didn't see it, Taylon Green, Andrew Armstrong, and Landon Jackson. And Landon Jackson was there last year, and he was awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, he was a hit with everybody. So I think that's good to bring him back and have a familiar face
I think it's good to go with Andrew Armstrong because
Yes.
he's a Texas guy. So
Yep.
you got him there, and then Taylon Green. That'll be interesting.
It will be. I was interested to see if they would pick him to go to media days or not, being that he is brand new. But I was like, how can you not bring the quarterback that everybody's talking about this offseason?
Yeah, I think he will certainly be asked leadership questions. Does the offensive line believe in him? What has he done to make them believe it with all this stuff about what supposedly happened, with KJ Jefferson last year, and maybe some of the guys didn't like what he was doing with NIL or whatever. Now they've made a big deal in the spring about all these offensive linemen like him. Remember the day he went over to all of them? And
and danced with them and sang
and he was
with
talking
them.
about how he was going to do this for them and that for them. So we'll see if he buys them meals and
I don't know.
buys them little presents with this NIL
They've
money.
all talked very highly of him, and even when they're just asked about him in general. So it would be interesting to see.
I did see where he's got a vehicle now, and I can't remember, but it wasn't a Corvette. I know.
No, it was like a truck, right?
Yeah. So right off the bat, we like this guy. Instead of KJ Jefferson in his Corvette, we got a guy with a truck.
He's got a truck. I know. I saw that as well, and I was like, all right, I like the ride. I like the ride. We've got some more Media Day questions. This one is from S. Giles, who asked, with football media days moving to Dallas this year, do you think it'll be overrun with Texas media types? If so, heaven help us. The Texas media stinks. A bunch of appointed geniuses. I know. I live here.
Yeah. Well.
Whoa.
That is a weird question. We've talked a lot about SEC media days in the past and how it's overrun with Alabama media. And it is. There are two groups that really dominate in Birmingham. It's the Alabama media, and then LSU has a lot of people there. Mm-hmm. And then they have a few Aggies there that have done crazy.
A few. I think there'll be much more this year, though, because it is in Texas.
More Aggies, which will probably be very annoying. I don't know about the Texas media because for a long time they were kind of shut out by the Longhorn Network, and I remember this one of them complaining because they didn't have access, and he actually said, "I don't cover them anymore. I cover A&M because I can't cover Texas." And that was a long time ago, so I don't know if that's still the case. But it will be interesting to see if they get in there and start trying to dominate things. But more importantly, what kind of questions are they going to ask? Are they only going to be interested in what people think about them? Will there be a lot of the, what do you think about Texas coming into you?
I think there's going to be a lot of that.
So it'll be interesting. And it'll also be interesting to see how many of the traditional SEC media Birmingham people don't show up for this one because it's too far away.
No, I think they'll show up.
Some people are on a budget. You get too far
yes,
away.
There is, but I think they'll show up for this one. But I do think it is going to be highly, because you even have the Dallas media, right? The local media in Dallas that will be there covering.
Maybe. These are Dallas Cowboys people, so I don't know what
I think they'll be there, though.
Okay,
I think it'll be.
Again, all these are legitimate questions that we don't really know because we've never had it before.
It's never been in Dallas before, so we're going to figure out next week, and we'll have full coverage for you as I'm going, Evan's going, and Jacob will be there. So all three of us
Here's
will
what
be.
I'm wondering.
Okay, all right. What are you wondering?
If there was a particularly annoying member of the Longhorn media,
okay.
and you got really mad, is there a chance there'd be like a cat fight?
I mean, is it another girl or is it a guy media
Or even
member?
a guy, you just toss him.
Maybe. I mean, I'd
you
have to
get
see. I
into
think they could kick me out, so I don't want to lose my credentials over a fight. But maybe, you know how the media goes out and does things? Maybe there'll be a little like media scuffle. I don't know. We'll see.
Like somebody's trying to bully you and interrupted your question. Would you go up to them and go, "Hey, bub,
You're new around here. You're new to the SEC.
You're new. We don't put up with that garbage.
We'll have to see. If anyone's bold enough to do that, I guess we'll find out. Hot Dogger wants to know, what is up with the NCAA plan to stop scholarships from walk-ons to football teams? Is that right, or am I confused?
That's not a thing anywhere.
That's not a thing.
Well, it's not happening yet.
Right.
And let me explain where that came from. Again, there's this idea that very quickly you could get the top 50 or 60 Division I programs to agree to absorb the expense of athletes in their school budget. Right now, their scholarship comes out of the school budget. Well, what if you paid them all $30,000 a year? Everybody on scholarship. And that's going to be another $15 to $20 million out of your athletic budget. So can you do that? Can you figure out a way to do it? And there's been a lot of speculation about, if you're going to have to do that, what are you going to do to be able to come up with the money? And so some have said you're going to have to reduce expenses somehow. And that was one of the things. Somebody speculated, yeah, you're not giving scholarship money to these walk-ons, but they still cost you money. Mm-hmm. You got to put them in uniform, you got to carry them around, take them places. And I'm sure there are other expenses with somebody that's not on scholarship. So the idea is the NFL doesn't have 100 guys on their roster. So you could just go with the 85 and go with that. Now, I think it's a bad idea because we've talked before, walk-ons are important.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of walk-ons here at Arkansas, but think about it. If they did away with walk-ons, the Burlsworth Award would just go away.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, do you take away that? I mean, you'd have to.
Yeah, you would. There'd be no point to it. So I don't really think that's going to happen. I think it was just something that got thrown out there as a way of saving money. I think most of this, if it's done, is going to be paid for with extra TV revenue, because if they do this, you're going to get more TV revenue for those schools that are in, I'm assuming it's going to be SEC schools, Big Ten schools, and probably ACC and probably Big 12.
Okay.
Probably those four conferences. And if you're doing that, I assume all of those are going to get extra TV money, and they will pay for this through their extra TV revenue.
Yeah.
I see that as a way to pay for this.
Absolutely. That could be a great way. But, again, this isn't a real thing, so this is all just you and I speculating. If it was to happen.
And the whole walk-on thing is not anywhere close to happening, in my opinion.
No, it's definitely not. Marty Bird's Proxy asked, what news is coming out of summer basketball practices? Is there any media access or just a few video clips that we've seen?
Yeah, it's the video clips.
Yeah,
Nobody's been invited over there. So here's what we know from watching these video clips. We know that Cal has said, hey, you asked for this. You said you wanted it. Well, we're giving it to you. What's wrong with you guys? So we've seen a little glimpse of how he.
But it's baby glimpses.
Yeah, a little glimpse of how. We certainly didn't see him screaming at them like Musselman. So, but maybe he does in a real workout. Maybe he does scream at them. I don't know. But he seemed to be very logical. He was just trying to use logic with them.
Yeah.
Okay, we saw one guy walking around with a bullhorn. Did you see that?
I did see that. I was like, that's awesome.
He was announcing everybody should get in gear and get going here.
Get going, yeah.
Okay, then we saw lots of dunks. Okay, they clearly edited out the non-dunks.
Yeah, well, it's a highlight reel, guys. They're going to edit the best things.
Yes, I think we can assume there's going to be a lot of guys on this team that can dunk. Okay, so there was that. And there was some three-point shooting, not a lot. But enough where you could go, oh, wow, there's a guy hitting a three-pointer. So that's what we see. Let me just say that, do I think that the people are mad that they want more? No, I think people are so happy about it, they don't care what Cal does. If he doesn't let anybody in the media come in there and shoot anything, so what? You just want to see these guys playing sooner than later. Can we get to October, November when they start actually playing exhibition games and then real games? Can we watch that Oakland game and see what that looks like?
Exactly. Yeah.
So there'll be some good games, and then of course it'll all lead up to the Kentucky game at Kentucky this year. That will be in January. That will be a big deal.
I think we'll get to at least see maybe a practice.
Maybe.
I think we will. I mean, based on what Kentucky media members have said.
Has anybody asked?
I don't think anybody has asked just yet, but I kind of want to know if we'll be able to at least see one or two open practices. I mean, that's usually.
I don't even know what his policy was at Kentucky. I don't.
I think he did allow some footage of practice. I want to say, because I remember some media members telling me it depends, but there was some footage of practice allowed. Not a lot, but some.
Okay.
So
We'll
I think we might be able to get some access for you guys. Not a lot, but some. I like his coaching style. That clip of him going, "You wanted to be here. You guys wanted to be here. You wanted to. Well, this is what we do here. This is what I love that." I was like, that
was his line.
Great coaching. I was like, oh, I love this. That got me hyped than any other clip, Mike. The dunks, the assists, no, just Coach Cal giving them a speech there. I love that. More questions about basketball. And this one is from TL Slayton, who says, I read about the 3 players that Calipari recently added to the roster, scholarships 10, 11, and 12. The story called them walk-ons, but they are on scholarship and look like good players. Maybe not 4 or 5 stars, but not walk-ons. What's up with that?
Yeah, part of that is the confusion with the way he explained all of this when he first started talking about it. If you go back to when he said that he might just use 9 scholarships or 10.
Yeah, he just wanted 9 guys.
And at first he started talking about everybody else being a walk-on. Well, at that time, I remember thinking, give me a break. He's not going to just let, 4 scholarships go unused. And that's exactly what happened. He went out and brought in, I think it's up to 12 now.
Yes.
They still have room for 1 more. But he's got 12 now with the idea that 3 of these were brought in last, and based on the way he explained it, when they were recruited, they understood, hey, you're not coming in here as part of the rotation right now unless you do something to make me think you should be in the rotation.
Or injuries or something else.
Yeah, or if injuries pop up. But the truth is, when we started looking at these 3 players, they looked better than what I thought we would be talking about. Now, how hard is it to get somebody that's a good player to come in when they know they're coming in to basically be a practice guy? I think it's tough. But apparently there's enough guys out there that believe in themselves that are willing to do that. So it's going to be interesting. And no, technically they are not walk-ons.
No, they're getting a
and
scholarship.
And they're a better quality player than you would get with a practice player. I've read all about these guys. They're not just some guy that was okay in high school so you can come in here and be a practice. I think he wants good practice players.
Absolutely. That makes you better, right? That makes his other guys better.
I look forward to meeting these guys. It'd be interesting to interview one of these guys. What did Cal tell you when he recruited? Did he tell you you're probably not going to play? And what was your attitude about that? Why did you end up here?
But that's why he's calling them walk-ons, so to speak, right? They're getting scholarship, but like you said, they know their role is going to be more of a walk-on role. But I think some of those guys realize the experience they can get by doing that. Can they prove themselves in practice? They get developed by Coach Cal, right?
You could come in here for a year and get developed by him and hit the portal.
Exactly, and that's his point, right? Why do I want to, tell them that they can come in here and be a scholar? They know their role as a walk-on, so if they want to come in here and work under our staff and get developed under our staff and maybe go get a better opportunity somewhere else, or maybe they earn their spot. We'll see.
Always a chance that a guy you never thought would do something turns out to be a lot better than you thought he would.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens. But I'm intrigued to talk to them as well. I want to know, because I like the attitude of going, hey, I'm going to earn my spot. I'm going to show Coach Cal why I deserve to have a spot.
I remember at the time asking somebody, you think he's just going to have tryouts? Because I didn't know, he wasn't clear about what he was going to do. Well, these aren't guys that had to try out that were already on campus. They were good high school players.
You're right. We're going to move on to the next question. KY Hog says, Arkansas is a big group of athletes going to the Olympics. My wife wants to know which one has the best chance of winning a gold medal.
Okay. I know zippity-doo-dah about track. That's your thing. You and Melissa have covered track.
It's much more than just track that we're going to talk about. But look, I wrote things down here. It's a hard question to answer.
Okay, wait a minute. I just have to announce that for the next few minutes, this becomes Ask Courtney.
Oh, yeah. And then the last question's Ask Courtney, too, because I'm going to talk about college football 25.
So I'm just going to sit back and shut up.
All right, so this is what I have for KY Hog and your wife who asked about this. You guys didn't, your wife wants to know which Razorback has a great chance of winning a medal. And all of the favorites when it comes to Team USA, if you look at them, they're people who have trained here, right? That aren't Razorbacks like Ryan Krauser in the shot put there. And then Tara Davis Woodhull in the long jump. She had the second longest jump this season. Those are 2 athletes that train in Fayetteville but aren't Razorbacks. So let's look at Razorbacks, right? For USA Gymnastics, that's one I'm going to pick. Team USA is the favorite to win gold, so hopefully they do. Jocelyn Robertson is a alternate on that team,
so she could win a gold.
So she could win a gold, right? If Team USA
if they win a gold, she gets a gold.
Exactly. Anna Hopkins, who swims for the UK, she won gold last year with the medley relay, 4x100 medley relay. So she is a former Razorback. They could do that again. They won it. They won it the last time at the last Olympics. So maybe they can win gold again, and that would bring a gold home for another Razorback. And then let me look on my sheet here. Akira Nugent for Jamaica in the 100-meter hurdles. She's impressive. She actually ran not too long ago on July 1st the fastest time in the 100-meter hurdles in the world. She had the world leading time, and then a girl from USA beat her out very briefly after. So the 100-meter hurdles is one to watch. Akira Nugent, one to watch there. She could take home a gold. Nikisha Price in the 400-meter, again, a Jamaican athlete, so she is one to watch. Carrie McLeod, Wayne Pinnock, you got to look at those Jamaican jumpers. We have seen what they can do at NCAAs. I think that can carry across to there. But again, that's the list right now. So we'll see if anybody else jumps up or what it looks like. But there's a chance, right? There's a chance for some Arkansas athletes to win gold.
If somebody comes back with one, that's what you got to do. You got to go over there and get a shot at the gold medal.
Absolutely.
I like seeing gold medals.
Oh, absolutely. And then I only mention gold here, but if you go and look, there's so many other Arkansas athletes that are expected to win a medal. They may not be gold, but silver, bronze. There's other, like Rachel Glenn in the high jump. They expect her to medal. So again, there are other athletes there. We're just talking about gold. So don't come at me and be like, whoa, Courtney, we have so many athletes that could medal. No, we do have a lot of athletes that can medal at the Olympics.
And Alyssa's going over there for our coverage. Next Star, the parent company of KNWA and KARC in Little Rock. And I'm wondering if she will come back with a gold medal.
Alyssa? In what? A gold medal in reporting?
Take one.
I like, she's going to steal a gold medal?
Well, they got a bunch of them laying around. They give them people, I'll get one of these. Maybe she could ask for one.
No, she is not going to. I don't think she will come back with a gold medal.
Do they have spare ones laying around?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think they have spare ones. I mean, I guess they would have like some spares that are made in case something happens to the
Well, maybe you could
medals.
get one of those spares.
I don't think they're going to give her a spare gold medal, but I like the thought there, Mike. I like the thought. We'll ask her if she even got to touch one when she was over there. Hog Redneck says, it looks like Arkansas players are tearing it up in the Cape this summer. Aloy is leading the league in homers, and Helfrich is suddenly bashing the ball too. Looks like you get away from the hill and they cut loose. Not a good look for our hitting coach.
Okay, I sort of figured that people would come to that conclusion. There could be a lot of factors other than that. I mean, one factor could be that, do you think it's possible that SEC pitching is better than Cape Cod League pitching?
No, really?
It might be. That might have
What a concept.
Do you think it's possible that after a year playing at this level, they are getting better? This is the natural progression, you know. You're a transfer. You got a year coming back. Helfrich was a freshman. You think you might be better the next year?
Yeah.
Hopefully you would be. So this would be a sign you're getting better. You're improving. I do think it's the only one we have an interview with is Helfrich, and he was funny.
Oh, he was great.
He's been saying funny stuff.
I love him. He's
great. Now they did move him to first base, prompting some people to ask, is he switching positions? And then Van Horn just landed a junior college catcher like yesterday. This kid batted over 500 and hit 15 home runs. So people are now going, see, he's the catcher now, and Helfrich's going to move to first base. Helfrich joked about that, and he said there's no danger of that because he was really bad at first base.
I love how honest he was.
So I think what's going on here is Dave Van Horn's always wanted at least two catchers, sometimes more than that, because he doesn't want to play one guy all the time.
Yeah.
So if you bring a JUCO guy in that can hit that well, you know, he might catch for one game of a series, he might catch midweek and play a lot, and you might use him as a DH some too. So I think this is a win-win, but it is really a good deal to get Helfrich. He's so good defensively with so much potential that having him now hit the way we hoped he would hit, I think is a good sign. And then Aloy has just gone nuts.
Every
time
I look
home runs in one game.
Every time I look at my feed, it's like Aloy has hit another home run. Great, that's awesome.
So what do we got here? We got Van Horn saying a month ago, we're going to get away from home run hitting. We're going to go find guys that hit more doubles and singles and base runners. And then what happens? The guys he already has start hitting home runs.
We'll have to see if it can translate to next season.
I would be very happy if Vahiva Aloy hits 3 home runs in a game. That would be great.
That'd be great. I don't think anyone would have a problem with that, Mike. We'll have to see if it happens. And before we let you go, you let me nerd out, and I'm excited about this.
We
Finally.
got this question last week, and we couldn't answer. Listen, we don't know anything about this. So
you don't know anything about the new game?
No.
All right, okay. Well, I do, and I'm ready to nerd out about it. Razor Alex 88 asks, countdown to CFB 25. Courtney, what features are you most excited about? I can't wait to see the traditions and team entrances. Got to go see the Razorbacks going through the A. I'm pretty excited to see the other SEC entrances, too. I am very excited about that, Mike. Today, I got a chance, and you saw this on your social media feed as well. Today, we all got a chance to see what gameplay would look like. And that was really, really cool to go through. It was only about 20 minutes or so it wasn't a full deep dive, but it was cool to see some of the features they had. I'm going to go into it a little deeper than just traditions. Razor Alex 88 is excited to see the traditions. I am too, because they place an emphasis on that and they really got every detail correct. And I really, really love that. But I'm also excited to see the touchdown celebrations. There's like 20 different options of touchdown celebrations that you can do when you get into the end zone. There's just some funny ones that we were looking at. I wonder if there's a gritty. I'm excited to see if that will be an option. But there's so many different ones. That's something I'm excited about. But also how in-depth they went. The level of detail that they have done with this game, Mike, is incredible. It's going to make gameplay really difficult. If you remember playing the old versions of this game, it didn't have the level of detail that we now have heading into College Football 25. And the reason being is because, gameplay has just advanced so much in the last decade that now they are experimenting with different things. I'm excited to see how that works. I love this, and this affects Arkansas, so listen up. They came out with the top 25 toughest places to play, EA Sports, and Arkansas made the list at number 23. What that means in the game is that if you are playing in Razorbacks Stadium, right, and the momentum has really shifted for Arkansas, and you're playing there, it's going to make the stadium noise real loud, and then it affects your gameplay. When you go and pick a route to run, the routes are all squiggly. They're messing with you there. The gameplay art, if you go and try and run a game or a play in the game, it might switch the play on you. It may not show you the correct play that you're running. So it shows you how atmospheres can affect your gameplay. Something else I'm excited about, and I'll be really quick on this because I know some people are interested in the game. They have made it so realistic, Mike, to where now with all of your players, it's going to be about gameplay management and roster management. And they have made it so intricate where each player has a stamina bar on this side and a wear and tear bar on this side. And what that wear and tear bar means that if you get hit on a play, let's say you're a quarterback, you get hit in your throwing arm, that's going to be wear and tear on that. So it will affect how your quarterback plays, how your quarterback throws. And the wear and tear isn't just wear and tear overall on your body, it's on specific body parts, which I think is so intricate. So depending on where you get hit, what you've done in a game, the wear and tear will literally affect how you play and how your abilities are scored. So intricate, right? You are literally in the game. That's their whole thing, right? EA Sports in the game. You are in the game. It's so incredible to see how that's going to all affect it. I think it's going to make it much harder. I really do.
So if we have Ole Miss playing Tennessee,
okay,
are we going to have the Lane Kiffin fake injury deal? where a guy fakes an injury.
No, actually,
And then
that
are
would
we
be
going to
a
have
great thing.
And then are we going to have the Tennessee fan throwing golf balls at Lane Kiffin?
I was thinking about like Tennessee fans throwing trash on the field. I was like, okay, that
They
would
threw
be
a golf ball at
They
him.
did. They did throw a golf ball. So, I mean, maybe they will have it that intricate. I don't think they'll add that in because I don't think they want to make any teams look bad.
Okay.
How about that?
Sounds
Well,
good.
that's going to do it for this week's Ask Mike. We'll see you next Monday to answer all of your questions.